إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الهاقة ما الهاقة وما أدراك ما الهاقة. كذبت ثمود وعاد بالقارعة فأما ثمود فأهلكوا بالطاغية وأما عاد فأهلكوا بريح صرصر عاتية سخرها عليهم 7 ليال و8 أيام حسوما فترى القوم فيها سرعى كأنهم أعجاز نخل خاوية فهل ترى لهم من باقية. وجاء فرعون ومن قبله والمؤتفكات بالخاطئة فعصوا رسول ربهم فأخذهم أخذة رابية إنا لما طغى الماء حملناكم في الجارية لنجعلها لكم تذكرة وتعيها أذن واعية فإذا نفخ في الصور نفخة واحدة وحملت الأرض والجبال فدكتا دكة واحدة فيومئذ وقعت الواقعة وانشقت السماء فهي يومئذ واحية والملك على أرجائها ويحمل عرش ربك فوقهم يومئذ 8 يومئذ تعرضون لا تخفى منكم خافية فأما من أوتي كتابه بيمينه فيقول هاؤم اقرءوا كتابيه إني ظننت أني ملاق حسابيه فهو في عيشة راضية في جنة عالية قطوفها دانية كلوا واشربوا هنيئا بما أسلفتم في الأيام الخالية وأما من أوتي كتابه بشماله فيقول يا ليتني لم أوت كتابيه ولم أدر ما حسابيه يا ليتها كانت القاضية ما أغنى عني ماليه هلك عني سلطانيه خذوه فغلوه ثم الجحيم صلوه ثم في سلسلة ذرعها 70 ذراعا فاسلكوه إنه كان لا يؤمن بالله العظيم ولا يحض على طعام المسكين فليس له اليوم هاهنا حميم ولا طعام إلا من غسلين لا يأكله إلا الخاطئون فلا أقسم بما تبصرون وما لا تبصرون إنه لقول رسول كريم وما هو بقول شاعر قليلا ما تؤمنون ولا بقول كاهن قليلا ما تذكرون تنزيل من رب العالمين ولو تقول علينا بعض الأقاويل لأخذنا منه باليمين ثم لقطعنا منه الوتين فما منكم من أحد عنه حاجزين وإنه لتذكرة للمتقين وإنا لنعلم أن منكم مكذبين وإنه لحسرة على الكافرين وإنه لحق اليقين فسبح باسم ربك العظيم صدق الله العلي العظيم.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. عن فاطمة الزهراء عليها السلام بنت رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله قال سمعت فاطمة أنها قالت دخل علي أبي رسول الله في بعض الأيام فقال السلام عليك يا فاطمة فقلت عليك السلام قال إني أجد في بدني ضعفا فقلت له أعيذك بالله يا أبتاه من الضعف فقال يا فاطمة ائتيني بالكساء اليماني فغطيني به فأتيته بالكساء اليماني فغطيته به وصرت أنظر إليه وإذا وجهه يتلعلع كأنه البدر في ليلة تمامه وكماله فما كانت إلا ساعة وإذا بولدي الحسن عليه السلام قد أقبل وقال السلام عليك يا أماه فقلت وعليك السلام يا قرة عيني وثمرة فؤادي فقال يا أماه إني أشم عندك رائحة طيبة كأنها رائحة جدي رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله فقلت نعم إن جدك تحت الكساء فأقبل الحسن نحو الكساء وقال السلام عليك يا جده يا رسول الله أتعذن لي أن أدخل معك تحت الكساء فقال وعليك السلام يا ولدي ويا صاحب حوضي قد آذنت لك فدخلا معه تحت الكساء فما كانت إلا ساعة وإذا بولدي الحسين عليه السلام قد أقبل وقال السلام عليك يا أماه فقلت عليك السلام يا قرة عيني وثمرة فؤادي فقال لي يا أماه إني أشم عندك رائحة طيبة كأنها رائحة جدي رسول الله فقلت نعم إن جدك وأخاك تحت الكساء فدنا الحسين نحو الكساء وقال السلام عليك يا جده السلام عليك يا من اختاره الله أتعذن لي أن أكون معكما تحت الكساء فقال وعليك السلام يا ولدي وشافع أمتي قد أذنت لك. فدخل معهما تحت الكساء فأقبل عند ذلك أبو الحسن علي بن أبي طالب وقال السلام عليك يا بنت رسول الله. فقلت عليك السلام يا أبا الحسن ويا أمير المؤمنين. فقال يا فاطمة إني أشم عندك رائحة طيبة كأنها رائحة أخي وابن أمي رسول الله. فقلت نعم ها هو ما ولديك تحت الكساء. فأقبل علي نحو الكساء وقال السلام عليك يا رسول الله أتأذن لي أن أكون معكم تحت الكساء؟ قال وعليك السلام يا أخي ويا وسيي وخليفتي وصاحب لحوزي وصاحب لوائي قد أزدت لك. فدخل علي تحت الكساء ثم أتيت نحو الكساء فقلت السلام عليك يا أبتاه يا رسول الله أتأذن لي أن أكون معكم تحت الكساء؟ قال وعليك السلام يا بنتي ويا بضعتي قد أذنت لك. فدخلت تحت الكساء فلما اكتملنا جميعا تحت الكساء أخذ أبي رسول الله بطرفي الكساء وأومى بيده اليمنى إلى السماء وقال اللهم إنا هؤلاء أهل بيتي وخاصتي وحامتي لحمهم لحمي ودمهم دمي يؤلمني ما يؤلمهم ويحزنني ما يحزنهم. أنا حرب لمن حاربهم وسلم لمن سالمهم وعدو لمن أعداهم ومحب لمن أحبهم. إنهم مني وأنا منهم. فاجعل صلواتك وبركاتك ورحمتك وغفرانك ورضوانك علي وعليهم وأذهب عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا. فقال الله عز وجل يا ملائكتي ويا سكان السماوات إني ما خلقت سماء مبنية ولا أرضا مدحية ولا قمرا منيرا ولا شمسا مضيئة ولا قمرا ولا فلكا يدور ولا بحرا يجري ولا فلكا يسري إلا في محبة هؤلاء الخمسة الذين هم تحت الكساء. فقال الأمين جبرائيل يا ربي ومن تحت الكساء؟ فقال عز وجل هم أهل بيت النبوة ومعدن الرسالة هم فاطمة وأبوها وبعلها وبنوها. فقال جبرائيل يا ربي أتأذن لي أن أهبط إلى الأرض ليكونوا ما هم سادسة؟ فقال الله نعم قد أذنت لك. فهبط الأمين جبرائيل وقال السلام عليك يا رسول الله. العلي الأعلى يقرئك السلام ويخصك بالتحية والإكرام ويقول لك وعزتي وجلاله إني ما خلقت سماء مبنية ولا أرضا مدحية ولا قمرا منيرا ولا شمسا مضيئة ولا فلكا يدور ولا بحرا يجري ولا فلكا يسري إلا لأجلكم ومحبتكم وقد أذن لي أن أدخل معكم فهل تأذن لي يا رسول الله؟ فقال رسول الله عليك السلام يا أمين وحي الله إنه نعم قد أذنت لك. فدخل جبرائيل معنا تحت الكساء فقال لي أبي إن الله قد أوحى إليكم يقول إنما يريد الله ليذهب عنكم الرجس أهل البيت ويطهركم تطهيرا. فقال علي لأبي يا رسول الله أخبرني ما لجلوسنا هذا تحت الكساء من الفضل عند الله. فقال النبي صلى الله عليه وآله: والذي بعثني بالحق نبيا واصطفاني بالرسالة نجيا، ما ذكر خبرنا هذا في محفل من محافل أهل الأرض وفيه جمع من شيعتنا ومحبينه إلا ونزلت عليهم الرحمة وحفت بهم الملائكة واستغفرت لهم إلى أن يتفرقوا. فقال علي عليه السلام: إذا والله فزنا وفاز شيعتنا ورب الكعبة. فقال أبي رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله: يا علي، والذي بعثني بالحق نبيا واصطفاني بالرسالة نجيا، ما ذكر خبرنا هذا في محفل من محافل أهل الأرض وفيه جمع من شيعتنا ومحبينا وفيهم محموم إلا وفرج الله حمه، ولا مغمون إلا وكشف الله غمه، ولا طالب حاجة إلا وقضى الله حاجته. فقال علي عليه السلام: إذا والله فزنا وسعدنا، وكذلك شيعتنا فازوا وسعدوا في الدنيا والآخرة ورب الكعبة. سورة المباركة الفاتحة.
تو آل محمد. سجاد رہائی پا کر بھی پردیس سے گھر کو آ کر بھی جب اشک بہاتے رہتے تھے زینب سے دکھ دیکھے نہ گئے. ایک روز طرف یہ پوچھا سجاد تو کب تک روئے گا؟ اس وقت میرے مولا نے کہا، اس وقت میرے مولا نے کہا، اماں ہے اپنے مقدر پر صغرا کے سوالوں پر کیوں نہ روئے سجاد، کیوں نہ روئے سجاد، کیوں نہ روئے سجاد. اے میری پھوپھی انصاف تو کر، نیزے پہ جو دیکھے باپ کا سر، ہو ساتھ سفر میں وہ جس میں چھیرا تھا علی اکبر کا جگر. دروں کی سزا ملتی ہو جہاں بچوں کو اشک بہانے پر کیوں نہ روئے سجاد. تم چھپ چھپ کر خون روتی ہو، میں روؤں تو کیوں کہتی ہو؟ رویا نہ کرو اے لال، میرے بھائی کو گوا کر بیٹھی ہوں. معصوم بہن کو زندہ میں جو چھوڑ کے تنہا آیا گھر کیوں نہ روئے سجاد، کیوں نہ روئے سجاد، کیوں نہ روئے سجاد. نیزے سے گرا عباس کا سر، میں دیکھ چکا ہوں وہ منظر. दरबार में मैं क्यों मर न गया, जब नाम तुम्हारा ले लेकर कहता था लई ज़ैनब है कहाँ, ले आओ यहाँ पर बेचादर, क्यों ना रोए सजाद, क्यों ना रोए सजाद, क्यों ना रोए सजाद। सब कत्ल हुए मैं जिंदा हूँ, बीमार सही लड़ सकता था, शर्मिंदा हूँ मैं असगर से, वो तीर सितम से लड़ तो गया, वो तीर मेरे क्यों कर न लगा, जिस तीर से घायल था असगर, क्यों ना रोए सजाद, क्यों ना रोए सजाद, क्यों ना रोए सजाद। सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि मुहम्मद व आले मुहम्मद।
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Brothers Hassan, just the usual announcements. Please park responsibly. When you come in quietly so as not to disturb the neighbors. And especially when you leave, brothers, it's quite late. So try and leave quietly, straight into your car, and with minimum disturbance to the neighbors. I'll also make a request that, brothers, if you start coming early, we can start the program early and finish early as well. I know it's difficult with the other centers, but inshallah, let us try and make it here on time. The toilets are through that door. From tomorrow, inshallah, we will have Saf Matam here every night, from tomorrow night, inshallah. Those who would like to partake in sponsoring the tabarruk and the running costs, please speak to my brother Muhammad Bhai Bandali, myself, Sarfraz, or the two car park volunteers outside, Roshnali and Murtaza. For all those who are ill, we pray for their quick recovery, Ameen. May I request you to recite Surah Fatiha for Marhum Sultan Ali Hussain Haji Bhai Muraj, Marhuma Zera Bhai Sultan Ali Hussain Haji Bhai Muraj, Marhumin of Haji Bhai Muraj family, Marhumin of Ahmad Muraj family, Marhuma Fatma Bai Karawali, Marhum Muhammad Jafar Karawali, Marhum Mullah Qasam, Marhum Marhuma Leila Bai Qasam, Marhum Asghar Qasam, Marhum Mujtaba Qasam, Marhuma Masuma Bai Khatau, Marhuma Sukaina Bai Chattu, Marhuma Zainab Bai Mulji. Also today, 11th July, marks 6 years since my mother passed away, Marhuma Zainab Bai Hasham Bandali, and for brother Marhum Abbas Bandali and all our Marhumin. Al-Fatiha. Brothers, before I ask Shaykh to come for Majlis, may I please request you to move forward as much as possible with a salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
رحم الله من قرأ سورة المباركة الفاتحة. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله بارئ الخلائق الأجمعين، باعث الأنبياء والمرسلين، ثم الصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء، حبيب قلوبنا وشفيع ذنوبنا أبي القاسم محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. ثم الصلاة والسلام على أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المظلومين، لا سيما ولي الله الحجة ابن الحسن صاحب الأمر والزمان. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. روحي وأرواح العالمين له الفداء، ولعنة الله على أعدائهم أجمعين من الأولين والآخرين إلى قيام يوم الدين. آمين رب العالمين. صلى الله عليك يا مولاي يا أبا عبد الله، صلى الله عليك يا مولاي يا أبا عبد الله، يا رحمة الله الواسعة ويا باب نجاة الأمة، يا غريب الغرباء، يا مظلوم كربلاء، السلام على من جعل الله الشفاء في تربته، السلام على من الإجابة تحت قبته، السلام على ساكن كربلاء. فيا ليتنا ثم يا ليتنا وكنا معكم سادتي، يا سادتي، فنفوز فوزا عظيما. أما بعد، قال مولانا إمام جعفر بن محمد وهو أصدق الصادقين صلوات الله وسلامه عليه. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد. تفقهوا في الدين فإن من لم يتفقه منكم في الدين فإنه أعرابي. صدق الإمام وآمنا به. زينوا مجالسكم بذكر محمد وآل محمد. Ahibai, Hadith al-Sharif, which is narrated in Kitab al-Kafi, under the chapter of Kitab al-Ilm. And you find that Hadith al-Sharif, on authority of the sixth Imam, the Imam says, تَفَقَّهُ فِي الدِّينِ, strive to learn fiqh in the affairs of your religion. For those of you, فَإِنَّ مَنْ لَمْ يَتَفَقَّهْ فِي دِينِهِ, the one who doesn't have the knowledge of fiqh within his religion, فَإِنَّهُ إِعْرَابِ, then he is the equivalent. The word Arabi literally translated means Bedouin. And over here Mufassirin, those who have done tafsir of this ayah of the Quran, they have done a little bit of research into why is it that the Imam used the example of a Bedouin. Is it derogatory towards Bedouins when you say that if you are not studied or if you are not educated in your religion, you're like a Bedouin? Why did the Imam use the example of a Bedouin? For two reasons, ulama say. Number one, nothing racist against a person who may be a Bedouin, and nothing racist against those who are nomads in terms of their lifestyle choices or decisions. But the example of the Arabi nomad is used because generally being away from the city, being away from an urban infrastructure, living in the harshness of the deserts, they are very harsh and they are very rough in their behavior, and rarely ever would you find them engaging the intellect. This is number one. Number two, the ulama come forward and they say that this may be a possible interpretation, but what is by far more accurate is the fact that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses the term Arabi within the Quran, where Allah Azza wa Jal says to Rasulullah by way of revelation that the Arabi, al-Arabi ashaddu kufran wa nifaka, that the Arabi, the Bedouin in Quranic language, is that person who claims to be a Muslim, but at the same time, ashad, he is at the highest intensity of nifaq and kufr. For over here, if you were to put these two together, and the wajah, the reason for using the example of an Arabi, that they are the embodiment of nifaq, they are the embodiment of kufr, even though they claim to be Muslims. You come back to the hadith of Imam as-Sadiq Ruhi lahul fida, it means that the Imam says, seek knowledge in fiqh, for indeed if you do not seek the knowledge of fiqh, then you will be from amongst those who are the most intense when it comes to kufr and nifaq. So we understand istidlal from this hadith. Number one, fiqh protects, knowledge of fiqh protects a person from kufr. Number two, and we saw yesterday that one of the signs of kufr is what? Istihza, that they mock the religion. You see how one thing builds to the other? For fiqh in itself, not only is it empowerment by way of knowledge, law, it's a shield, an intellectual shield that protects something far greater and more precious within your being, and that is your iman. There is nothing more precious, believe me, than your faith. And this is something that Ahna, Shias of Al Muhammad, particularly in the days of Shahrul Muharram, when we are surrounded by atheistic philosophy, when we are surrounded by materialism and superficialism, such that man in history has never been so superficial as we are in the 21st century, where people's worth is judged on materialistic affairs, on social statuses, Ahibbai, at this time, enter as a Shia of Amir al-Mu'mineen, as the Shia of Imam al-Hussein, you must understand and take pride of the fact that there is nothing more precious that you can possess outside of Iman. The Hadith is Sharif, a person comes to Imam al-Sadiq, salawatullahi wa salamuhu alayhi. He says, Yabna Rasulullah, do dua for me, I need a dua. Perhaps you are familiar with the Hadith, do dua for me. I am drowning in poverty. Imam al-Sadiq, ruhi lahu al-fida, smiles. Says to him, who said you are poor? Ajib. He says, Yabna Rasulullah, I'm telling you I'm poor. We're struggling to put food on the table. We don't have enough. My family, my children, my wife. Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam looked at him and he said to him, you have something very precious within you. He says, you have something that the entire wealth of the dunya cannot purchase. He says, what do you mean? He says, do you love us, Ali Muhammad? He said, of course, wilaya. He says, if I was to give you 100 gold coins, and I'm paraphrasing the narration, if I was to give you 100 gold coins, would you abandon your faith? Shunu kalam yabna Rasulullah, of course not. He says, Imam Sadiq says to him, if I was to give you 1,000 gold coins, would you abandon your faith? He said, no. He says, if I was to give you gold, the equivalent of the mount of Uhud, the mountain of Uhud, to despise me, to abandon my love, would you do that? He said, no. He says, if I was to fill the earth and the heavens with gold, would you still abandon me? He says, never, impossible, Yabna Rasulullah. Imam Sadiq says to him, how can you consider yourself poor when you have treasure and wealth in wilaya that in exchange of the gold of the earths and the heavens you would not give away? Intim Shabab, you possess something that no other person that subscribes to or is shackled to materialism possesses. Something far much grand and azim. Cherish this, nourish this, and plant it within your family members and within your community members. وَالْآخِرَةُ لِلْمُتَّقِينَ. In any case, coming back to our hadith, the Imam says, if you don't have this fiqh, you become intense in your kufr and you become intense in your nifaq. If we understand this, we try and understand and analyze the word fiqh. What does the Imam mean when he says seek knowledge in fiqh? Because when you look at the tradition that emanates from the sixth Imam, the verbal construct of the sentence or the construct of the verb tafakkahu is in its command tense. Sighat fi'il amr. And a command tense, as the ulama within usul will mention, that a command tense is dhahir, is apparent in wujub, obligation. Until and unless there is an indicator that shows it is mustahab, what is understood is that it is wajib. So when the Imam is saying it is wajib to seek knowledge in fiqh, what actually is meant over here? Ahibba'i, if you were to return back to Islamic literature confined to the Quran and to the words of the Ahlul Bayt, you will find in early Islamic literature the word fiqh was not restricted to the definition of fiqh as it is in this day and age. In this day and age, when we say fiqh, what comes to our mind is halal and haram in regards to our furu'ud-din. Outside of furu'ud-din, fiqh is a terminology that is used to understand what is the hukum shar'i in regards to any action that we perform, be it wajib, be it haram, be it mustahab, be it makruh, or mubah. This is our general understanding of the word fiqh. However, if you go back into Islamic history within the early periods, this was not the definition of fiqh. This is a new definition, perhaps over the last X hundred amount of years. But if you go back to early Islamic literature, the word fiqh includes seeking knowledge in regards to usuluddin as well as furu'uddin. The da'ira, the parameters were far much wider than what it is right now. And it doesn't mean it's anything wrong, because as time progresses and we get deeper into the ghaiba, takhassus, specialization is needed. And hence this definition of fiqh that you and I use today is by way of necessity. But if you go back to early Islamic tradition, the word fiqh includes usuluddin and includes furu'uddin. And the proof for this is the usage of the word fiqh within the Quran. Ahibai, if you were to refer back to the Quran in Surah Tawbah. Surah Tawbah, by the way, I may have mentioned it here or for the other shabab. Tawbah is not the name of the surah actually granted by Ahlul Bayt. Ahlul Bayt never named this surah in the Quran Tawbah. As per Ahlul Bayt, it is known as Suratul Bara'ah. Tawbah was named much later on by those who were implicated in Bara'ah. But in any case, Ajib wa Gharib Zaman Ba'ad. Verse number 122, Suratul Bara'ah. Verse number 122, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, for bima anna the surah begins without a bismillah, we will continue in the same way. وَمَا كَانَ الْمُؤْمِنُونَ لِيَنْفِرُوا كَافَّةً فَلَوْلَا نَفَرَ مِنْ كُلِّ فِرْقَةٍ مِّنْهُمْ طَائِفَةٌ لِيَتَفَقَّهُوا فِي الدِّينِ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this verse of the Quran says, it is not incumbent upon all the Muslims. This verse was revealed during the time, obviously during the time of Rasulullah, and it was revealed during the time of war, where there was a recruitment happening for people to join the ranks of jihad with Rasulullah. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed the verse where He said, it is not necessary or it is not needed for all the mu'mineen inside of Medina to attend the jihad. Rather, فَلَوْلَا نَفَرَ مِنْ كُلِّ فِرْقَةٍ مِّنْهُمْ طَائِفَةٌ. We need people, rather we need believers, a group of people from every tribe, from every faction, to be exempt from war and do what? لِيَتَفَقَّهُوا فِي الدِّينِ, to seek knowledge of fiqh in deen. And we understand over here the meaning of fiqh is not only ahkam shar'iyya in regards to furu'uddin, but rather it includes usuluddin, and the meaning which is awla is usuluddin. Why? The karina is in the verse itself. The indicator of the intended meaning is in the verse itself. Because the verse goes on to say, لِيَتَفَقَّهُوا فِي الدِّينِ وَلِيُنذِرُوا قَوْمَهُمْ إِذَا رَجَعُوا إِلَيْهِمْ لَعَلَّهُمْ يَحْذَرُونَ. لِيُنذِرُوا, so that they may warn a nation. The word that is used is warning. لِيُنذِرُوا. Rasulullah's title is Nadhir wa Bashir. Nadhir means to warn people in regards to a looming punishment on the day of judgment. Yani what? Yawmul Qiyamah and Ma'ad. Ma'ad and Akhirah is from Usuluddin. And the second indicator is لَعَلَّهُمْ يَحْذَرُونَ. Perhaps they may seek guidance. So from this verse of the Holy Quran, and this verse of the Holy Quran, by the way, is a phenomenal verse, like every verse in the Quran. This verse of the Holy Quran, within the principles of jurisprudence, is used, number one, to deduce the hukum, that it is wajib kifai to become a mujtahid. We say becoming a mujtahid when you open the Risala Amaliya, to become a mujtahid is wajib kifai. Wajib kifai in its classical meaning that if one person, it's an obligation upon everybody, but if one person undertakes the wajib, the wujub, then the rest are exempted. Just like, for example, ghusl mayyit. For example, the burial of a Muslim. Similarly, seeking ijtihad, knowledge to the extent of ijtihad within the ghaibah of the Imam and even during the times of the Imam is a wajib kifai. Number two, ulama have also used this verse of the Holy Quran to establish that it becomes wajib aini. Shlon wajib aini? Wajib aini means it is a wajib upon each and every individual. And if one person performs the wujub, the other is not exempted. Wajib aini like salat. Our daily salat, maghrib, fajr, isha. This is salat which is wajib aini. If you recite janab salatul fajr, doesn't mean that he is exempt from it. It's upon everybody. Ulama have come forward and deduced from this ayah of the Holy Quran, wujub, wajib aini, when it comes to people who have the right characteristics to be involved in tabligh. Tabligh upon certain individuals becomes wajib aini. To add context to this, upholding the message of Eidul Ghadir, Maraja and ulama across the passage of time said to uphold the message of Eidul Ghadir for a long time, it was ruled as a hukum wajib aini. Why? Because towards the end of the khutbah, when Amirul Mu'mineen was declared as the Imam and bay'ah was to be given to him, Rasulullah said, فَلْيُبَلِّغُ مِنْكُمْ الشَّاهِدُ الْغَائِبِ. فَلْيُبَلِّغ. This grammatical construct, the verb that has a lam and that has the letter ya, and then baligh in its command tense. Sigat, again, what is understood, it is in the maqam of a sigat fi'il amr. And for this, you find that this is not kalam easy. Wajib aini to uphold the message of the wilaya of Amirul Mu'mineen. In any case, this verse of the Holy Quran is also used to deduce within ilm al-diraya and the rijal the hujjiyat of a khabar wahid. Yani, the fact that hadith, as you know, are divided into two according to the classical divisions. This is not the division of the Qudama, by the way. The Qudama, the likes of Sayyid Murtada and before him Shaykh al-Kulayni and the time of Shaykh al-Saduq, the divisions of hadith was much different. This comes from the time of Sayyid ibn Tawus. The division of the hadith, in that hadith is divided into two. Mutawatir, and the opposite of mutawatir is khabar wahid. What allows you, or who said that a khabar wahid, a hadith which is not mutawatir, can still qualify as a binding proof through which a hukum shar'i can be extracted? This verse of the Holy Quran is the first line of proof that is used in ilm al-diraya when it comes to establishing the hujjiyat khabar wahid. Ala kullin, if we understand all of this, ahibba'i, from the Holy Quran, Surah Al-Bara'ah, verse 122, we are able to understand that when Imam as-Sadiq says tafakkahu fid din, yani the Imam means to say over here, Shabab, seek knowledge in your usuluddin and your furu'uddin. For indeed, if you don't seek knowledge in these two fields, then you become from amongst those who are kuffar and the munafiqeen. Tamam. If we understand this, we move to our next point. And this point is the relationship between usuluddin and furu'uddin. Many times, you will find within a classical manhaj, or the manhaj that we have been exposed to, generally we are taught that usuluddin is one thing and furu'uddin is something totally different. And then what happens is that differences start to arise, that one pays more attention to Usuluddin and one pays more attention to Furu'uddin. And then you have, and one example of this, the reason that we speak about things is like this, because the root cause of problems in a community emanate from this type of jahal, the separation of Usuluddin from Furu'uddin. One fruit of this sort of separation that we see in our communities is what? It becomes that our community becomes split. They say this one is a Namazi and this one is a Matami, because the Matami comes back to Usuluddin, the Namazi comes back to Furu'uddin. And this bi'ayniha, in its purest form, is from the web weaved by Iblis himself. And the goal behind all of this is what? To weaken the message of Imam al-Hussein. In reality, when you are to come back to the deen, and you are to think and look over the words of Imam al-Sadiq ruhillahu al-fida when he says tafakkahu fi din, and fiqh is usuluddin and furu'uddin. In reality, the relationship between usuluddin and furu'uddin is that the root of the entire furu'uddin is extracted from usuluddin. You cannot separate between these two fields of knowledge. And if you do, it leads to dalala, misguidance. And you know, one of the greatest traits of the munafiq is what? Is that they hide behind furu'uddin in order to cover their defects in usuluddin. They'll come, inshallah, in the future nights, how munafiqeen in history used furu'uddin to misguide people from usuluddin. For the claim that we make over here is what? That usuluddin has roots in furu'uddin. And in order to be a faqih, as per the words of Imam al-Sadiq, a person needs to have deep understandings between both these fields. And when we understand the relationship between both these fields, this is when a person truly becomes a faqih and a wula'i, as per the definition of Ali Muhammad. I take with you two examples, and then we look at this and transcribe it on the life of Imam Muslim bin Aqil. All of this with a salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Our premise is this: you cannot separate Furu'uddin from Usuluddin, and rather the roots of Furu'uddin are from the Usul. Tamam. Salat Amududdin, central pillar of religion, at the forefront of all Furu'uddin. No two people dispute on this. Sahih Lola. If we understand that Salat is Furu'uddin and Amududdin, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says within the Quran, Inna salata tanha anil fahsha'i wal munkar. Salat is that shield that allows you to protect yourself from the temptation of sinning. Salat, in essence, in this meaning, ada'us salat, I should actually be more precise. Ada'us salat, performing salat, is from the Furu'uddin. However, you will notice that the ahkam of salat are deeply intertwined with usuluddin, such that it is inseparable. Shlon. Salat is Amududdin. We have hadith from Rasulullah, La salat illa bi fatihatil kitab. There is no salat without Suratul Hamd. You'll find salat in its construct is made up of certain actions that are known as what? Rukun, arkanus salat. If you leave them, you omit them, your salat becomes batil. From the arkanus salat, for example, is the sajdatain. If you purposely omit your sajdatain, your salat becomes batil. And similarly, like you have certain things that are arkanus salat, you have certain things that are from the wajibat of salat. So for example, from those issues that are wajibat of salat is qira'ah, recitation of the surah. And from the surahs you have Suratul Hamd. Rasulullah and the Ma'soom Imam says, La salat illa bi Fatihatil Kitab. There is no salat without Suratul Hamd. Shabab, if you don't recite Suratul Hamd, your salat is batil. And if your salat is batil, and we say that it is Amudud Deen, the entire deen came crashing down. Sahlola, tamam. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim is part of Suratul Hamd or no? Your decision, your understanding of fiqh, whether Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim is part of Salat or not, your fiqhi understanding of this hukum depends on your relationship with Usuluddin. Amirul Mu'mineen salawatullahi wa salamuhu alayhi, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad wa ajil faraja. Hadith Sharif in Wasa'il al-Shia. Wasa'il al-Shia is a grand text of hadith authored by Shaykh Hurrul Amuli. About Shaykh Hurrul Amuli, by the way, is from the descendants of who? Hur bin Yazid al-Riyahi, al-Shahid Karbala. If you go back, Hadith Sharif, they asked Amirul Mu'mineen, did Rasulullah used to recite Bismillah in his salat? Amirul Mu'mineen alayhi salam says, وَقَدْ كَانَ رَسُولُ اللَّهِ يَقْرَأْ بِسْمِ اللَّهِ الرَّحْمَنِ الرَّحِيمِ فِي صَلَاتِهِ وَكَانَ يَجْهَرْ بِهِ. He used to recite Suratul Hamd and he used to recite the Bismillah loudly. And indeed the Bismillah is part of Suratul Hamd. Now, enter as a mukallif, enter as a person who has the responsibility and the duty to pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You have a choice in your salat, in your furu'ud-din. Do you take your hukum from Amirul Mu'mineen, who says that reciting Bismillah loudly is a part of salat and Bismillah is part of Suratul Hamd, or you take your fiqh from the Hanbali? Because Ibn al-Qudama al-Hanbali, who is from the madrasa of Ahmad ibn Hanbal, he says that Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim is not necessary to recite in Salat and is not a part of Suratul Hamd. In fact, Dar al-Qurtubi mentions that on narration from Anas ibn Malik, that the first person to recite Suratul Hamd without Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim was Muawiyah ibn Sufyan al-La'in. After the ceasefire with Imam Hassan al-Mujtaba, Anas ibn Malik says the first person to lead Salatul Jama'ah in Medina by omitting Suratul Hamd was Muawiyah ibn Abu Sufyan. وَلِذَلِكَ we say, Inta Shabab, when you take your furu'ud-din, and you recite Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim loudly and as a part of your Suratul Hamd, this is your affiliation that you are reciting a salat which is Alawi, a salat which is Muhammadi, and that in your Usuluddin you are opposed to the salat which was established and ordained by Bani Umayyah. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Ya Ali, your furu'ud-din, your understanding of furu'ud-din and your ahkam of furu'ud-din depends on who your imam is, and who your imam is depends on your usuluddin. If your usul was weak and you take from the fiqh of the Hanabila, Rasulullah says, La salat illa bi Fatihatil Kitab, to recite the entire Fatiha from Bismillah ila Dhalleen. Knowingly or unknowingly, see, this is where ma'rifah in salat comes in. Wilaya has a role inside of your salat. If you understand that the difference between the salat of Ali Muhammad and the salat of Rasulullah, the difference between the salat of the true Islam and the salat of Bani Umayyah, the distinction is the Bismillah, which is recited loudly. And know that in your salat, every time you recite Bismillah, you are upholding the sha'air and you are upholding the sha'air of Ali Muhammad. Now you begin to understand how wilaya has a role in making your salat a mi'raj. Same when you come to Surah Al-Hamd. Hadith again in Wasa'il al-Shia. Zurara asks Imam al-Sadiq, salawatullahi wa salamuhu alayhi. He says, once we have completed Surah Al-Hamd, should we say Ameen? Intum shufu. Refer back to the Risala Amaliya. This is a kalam which is pure fiqh. There's nothing sectarian about this. It's about a reality of your fiqh. Intum, open today when you go home, look at the Tawzihul Masail. Show from all the ulama of the past and present. What is the hukum of a person who says Ameen after Surah Al-Hamd? What is the hukum of his salat? Refer back to the ulama, salat becomes batil. Ajib. Salat which is Amududdin became batil. Tamam, this marja taqlid, this hukum shara'i that the salat becomes batil came from where? Hadith al-Sharif in Wasa'il al-Shia, Zurara, when he asks Imam al-Sadiq, should we recite Ameen after Salat? The Imam says, La takulunna Ameen. La is a particle of negation, yani nahi. I prohibit you from doing this. Not only a normal prohibition, but the words of the Imam go on to say, La takulunna. La taqul means don't say. Finished. The message is clear. La means a prohibition. La taqul. Taqul means don't say. Finished. If the Imam would have said this, it would have been sufficient. But the Imam went forward and he said, La taqulanna. He added a noon shadda at the end of the verb, do not speak. Do you know what the noon shadda at the end of the verb means? Emphasis, yani intensity of the prohibition. And then intensity. See, we have a rule in fiqh, again, which is tied to usuluddin, that something which is haram because it is despised by Allah and the Ahlul Bayt. Something is mustahab because it is liked by Allah. It is pleasing to Allah and to Ahlul Bayt. So if you understand that makruh means it is despised by Allah, and haram, the intensity with which Allah despises this act is such that He prohibits you. If you understand that the concept of prohibition is tied to the ghadab of Allah, the Imam uses a double noon for intensity of prohibition to show you how despised this act of saying Ameen is after Surah Al-Hamd. Because it is a bid'ah in the seerah of Rasulullah. Tamam, your decision to recite salat and say Ameen or no is a mas'ala fiqhiyya. When your marja taqlid said that the salat becomes batil after saying Ameen is a mas'ala fiqhiyya. But the root of this fiqhi masail is where? If you trace back the roots, it is his affiliation with the Imam of Ali Muhammad. It is because I believe that Imam as-Sadiq prohibited us from saying Ameen. And it is because of my belief that Imam as-Sadiq is the ma'soom Imam appointed by Allah and the guardian and the trustee of the Sharia. This is the meaning of Assalamu alayka ya Amin Allahi ala wahyeh. I believe that you are the the trustee of Allah over the Sharia, so I will take my fiqh from you. The one who doesn't believe in this, and his usuluddin is taken a left turn, his fiqh also takes a left turn. لذلك أحبائي, احنا in this day and age, it is absolutely critical for us in our manhaj, in our madrasa, in our manhajs at home, in our personal readings, in our own personal developments, that when we are studying, it is important to study seerah, 100%. It is important to study furu'uddin, but more importantly, it is important to study usuluddin and then link your usul to your furu'. You will find ajaib and gharaib within the deen when you intertwine usul and furu' together. You see the type of nur that emanates from you, because you become a person shamil, kamil, as per the instructions of Imam as-Sadiq Ruhi lahul fida. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Tamam, you look into all this. Ahibai, tonight we want to begin the commemoration of the shahadat of the youth of Bani Hashim. And from here on till the day of Ashura, our grief knows nothing but intensity. And it is befitting to begin the dhikr of the Sadat of Bani Hashim who was shuhada or who was shaheed on the day of Ashura with the family of Imam Muslim bin Aqil. With the family of Imam Muslim bin Aqil. Shabab Muslim bin Aqil. Imam al-Hussein Ruhi lahul fida, when he sent Imam Muslim bin Aqil to Kufa, he sent him with a letter. إني باعث إليكم أخي وابن عمي وثقتي. I am sending to you my brother, my cousin, kalam over here, thiqati, my trustworthy representative. Thiqa means that the level of trust is such that the ma'soom imam, see the position and the fada'il of Imam Muslim bin Aqil. The ma'soom imam makes decisions in terms of the functions of imamat based on the assessment and the words of Imam Muslim bin Aqil. Muslim bin Aqil's position is no less, in fact it is higher than the position of the 4 Nawabs to Imam Sahib al-Amra. And it is a grave mistake, Ahibai. It's a grave mistake. Sometimes we get passionate. Sometimes we get overexcited. And then we start comparing one alim to another alim, one marja to another marja. Sometimes you see this, it's a shame on social media. We come and we try to compare other marja taqlid and say they are like the Muslim bin Aqil of the time. This is wrong. This is an insult. It's an insult to the institution of marja'iyah. It is an insult to Imam Muslim bin Aqil. Imam al-Hussein says, thiqati. Maraja taqlid are nawab am. They are not nawab khas. And anyone who claimed to be a naib khas in history, there were tawqees and letters that were sent out issuing la'na upon them. It's not a joke to come and attribute niyaba khasa to a ma'soom imam on behalf of anyone. We have to be careful how we don't lose our iman over issues like these. Muslim bin Aqil the trusted representative of Imam al-Hussein, was a faqih in the grandest sense as defined by Ali Muhammad. Horsemanship, bravery, ilm, all in one. Faqih means what? If you put together usuluddin and furuuddin, the end result is that you are a man of principle. You live your life as per the principles of the deen. Rather, you go a step forward, and what you do is that the principles of the deen become more beloved to you than your life. And this is what Imam Muslim bin Aqil showed us. Shuf this before we enter into Masaib. When Imam Muslim bin Aqil was in Kufa, Sirjoun al-La'in advises Yazid al-La'in, remove Nu'man ibn Bashir as the governor of Kufa and replace him with Ibn Ziyad. Because Nu'man ibn Bashir was too weak. The revolution of Imam Muslim bin Aqil was gaining traction. So he said, remove him and instead bring Ubaidullah ibn Ziyad. Consolidate between the provinces of Basra and Kufa so that there is one governor. Tamam. Ubaidullah ibn Ziyad came. And as soon as he came into Kufa, he started now figuring out he started, data collection. Data collection. I need to start finding out on the ground who is involved in the revolution, who is the backbone of the revolution, who is supporting, who are the horsemen, who are the weak ones, who are the ones that are like the banderas here and there. Everything. These were masters when it came to psychology, without doubt. Ibn Ziyad knew exactly whose, the way we say sometimes in Gujarat, whose chawi is where, whose key is where. This guy, I can manipulate lust. He loves women. I'll send him women. This one, he loves wealth. I'll send him wealth. This one is not scared by wealth, but I can scare him with his life. Then I will scare him with the life. And there are some people who are the weakest of the weakest. If you little bit praise them, and they sold their faith just because you praised them. Allah. Ibn Ziyad comes to Kufa, and they start this process of now trying to figure out the underground movement. Who is with Imam Muslim, who is against Muslim. And from the initial information or the initial intelligence that was gathered, they came back to Ubaidullah ibn Ziyad al-La'in and they said to him, there are two people over here that are playing a critical role in helping Muslim bin Aqil and creating the traction. Minu Sharik, who was a companion of Amirul Mu'mineen by the name of Sharik, and a person by the name of Hani ibn Urwa, whom you all know. By the way, you know, according to a majority of the muhakkikeen, Hani ibn Urwa, when he became Shaheed in Kufa, he sent his son Yahya. His son Yahya left Kufa and joined Imam al-Hussein in Karbala. Yahya is actually one of the shuhada of Karbala, the son of Hani ibn Urwa. And you, inshallah, I pray to Allah, you all get the opportunity to go to Karbala, inshallah. You perform the ziyarah of the shuhada, you remember Yahya ibn Hani ibn Urwa. In any case, they find out that it is Sharik and Hani ibn Urwa. These are the people who are the front face of this underground revolution. Ubaidullah ibn Ziyad says, I'm going to go visit Sharik and I can try and suss him out, see what the situation is. Sharik happened to be a little bit ill. And in fact, he ended up dying from that illness. So Sharik, Ubaidullah ibn Ziyad's guards came to him and said, Ubaidullah ibn Ziyad is coming to visit you at night. The governor of Kufa is coming to your house to visit you, be prepared. Tamam. Sharik called Hani and Muslim ibn Aqil, who was in hiding. He said, listen, we have got an absolutely fantastic, I'm paraphrasing the history. He says, we have got an absolutely fantastic opportunity over here to gain victory for Imam al-Hussein and Shiaism. Ajib, how? He says, Ubaidullah ibn Ziyad is coming to visit me at home on the pretext that I am sick. The fact that Ibn Ziyad will come to our house or will come to my house, most likely he is going to be unarmed. And if he comes to my house, he doesn't know where you are, Muslim bin Aqil. You hide in my house and I will give you a signal. that when I give you the signal, you come and you strike the neck of Ubaidullah ibn Ziyad, assassinate him. With one assassination, this entire opposition, the entire stronghold of Yazid's rule will collapse. And you will be able to gain power over the city of Kufa. And with Kufa in your hand, Basra will crumble. And I guarantee you, the tribes of Basra will come to your support. If we gain leadership over Kufa, we are going to change the face of history, the course of history, and set a solid base for Imam al-Hussein. As it is, Imam al-Hussein is leaving Makkah and coming to Kufa. And to do your calculations. Huge opportunity. Ubaidullah ibn Ziyad comes to the house of Shaykh. He visits Shaykh. Shaykh gives a signal to Imam Muslim bin Aqil, gives a signal once, gives a signal twice, thrice. Muslim bin Aqil doesn't come out. Ubaidullah ibn Ziyad sensed something is wrong over here, so he left the house. When he left the house, Muslim bin Aqil came back and sat with Shaykh. Hani bin Urwa was also there. Shaykh said to him, Ya Muslim, how did you let go of this golden opportunity, which perhaps we will never get again? Imagine you could have assassinated Ubaidullah ibn Ziyad right now. As it is, there are weak people in Kufa. We never know when they will switch on us. Instead of depending on them for a revolution and going out into a full force war. And by the time of army of Sham comes over here, Ya Muslim, this was the perfect opportunity. He should have just assassinated him and we could have gone into power. This is a faqih. This is a muwali. Muslim bin Aqil looked at Shaykh and said, I remembered the hadith of Rasulullah where he said, Al-Imanu qaydul fatq. Iman, to paraphrase, Iman does not allow us to be deceitful even in war. He's a dhalim, la'in, but he came to your house as a guest. I will not manipulate that vulnerable moment to assassinate him. A mu'min is much greater than this. If we want haqq to be established, we fight equally in the battlefield. But not like this. Not through deception. Karbala was not about a numerical victory. Karbala was about the victory of principles. And natija is not important. In the Quran, Allah has never given a promise for an end natija. He's given promises for natija in the akhirah. What is matloob in the dunya is that the principles prevail. Take examples, social life, religious life. How many times we uphold the principles? How many times you see around you that in order to reach a certain goal, even if it means trampling on the principles as a means to get to that goal, we trample. Some time back in one of the countries, some of the students in Najaf were talking, and he came back from Tabligh, was sitting in with one of the teachers. He said, I saw something ajib. It's like we were collecting, I think, 3,000 pounds, 5,000 pounds, something like that. It's like all we wanted to do was build a small masjid in our village. And this 5,000 pounds, we said Masjid and Husayniya, inshallah. We'll have the message of Imam al-Hussein and call people towards Tashayyu. The cost was 5,000 pounds. He says the problem is that we are living in such a place, there is so much corruption, that in this place to build a mosque, we would have to pay a bribe of about 1,000 pounds. Because in that part of the town or that part of where he comes from, Government officials, mashallah, are so corrupt. When they want to bribe you, they charge you a percentage of the value of the project. Surprisingly, it's 1/5 as well. I said 1/5, £1,000. He said, what did you guys do? You had the funding? I said, yes, we had the funding. He said, so what happened? He said, the group of Shias who were leading this project, they decided, you know what? Which type of azadari we are going to do in a place that we got by means that is haram? Principles is more important than the masjid. 50, 60 people actually got together that night and recited dua nudba out of happiness for the victory of principles. Shaifin. Victory of principles is far much greater than the end result. Deen means no compromise on principles. Deen means these principles are much more beloved to me than my life. This is Muslim bin Aqil. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. The family of Aqil, the family of Muslim bin Aqil, gave sacrifices on the day of Ashura. Allahu Akbar. The sons of Muslim bin Aqil, the narrations mention that after Salatul Dhuhr, as all the companions of Imam al-Hussein became shaheed, he was surrounded by the youth of Bani Hashim, 17, 18 youth. Imam Sajjad says, like shining stars, there are no equivalent to them on earth. They began hugging each other and weeping and bidding farewell. Bani Hashim ran to the tents of Imam al-Hussein, each one seeking permission to be the first one to gain shahada. And from amongst these youth, Shabab, who went forward into war, was the son of Muslim bin Aqil by the name of Abdullah. Abdullah ibn Muslim bin Aqil, the eldest son of Muslim bin Aqil. Imam al-Hussein had a very special position for him, because Muslim bin Aqil was married to Sayyidah Ruqayya, the daughter of Amirul Mu'mineen, sister of Imam al-Hussein. It's a sister from outside of Sayyidat Nisa al-Alameen. Sayyidah Ruqayya was married, the daughter of Amirul Mu'mineen was married to Imam Muslim bin Aqil, and from them they were blessed with this child, Abdullah. Abdullah was married to the daughter of Imam al-Hussein by the name of Sayyidah Sukaina. Sukaina, who was the elder daughter. And therefore, when Abdullah ibn Muslim came to seek permission, Imam al-Hussein's eyes were filled with tears. And he says to him, O children of Muslim bin Aqil, it is just recently that your father was made shaheed. You have just recently lost your father. Your mother will not be able to handle the grief. So I say to you on this day, Jazakumullah for everything you have participated till now in battle. But my request is that you take your mother in the hands of your sisters and you flee from the lands of Karbala. Abdullah ibn Muslim looked at Imam al-Hussein and he fell on his feet and he says to him, Sayyidi ya Aba Abdullah, and how can I choose this temporary world over you? This was not easy, huh? These were children yatim. You know what Bani Umayyah did to Muslim bin Aqil? The narration mentions, the Maqtal mentions, when they captured Muslim bin Aqil, they took him to the very top of Darul Imara. The Maqtal says that they beheaded Muslim bin Aqil. As blood was flowing from the jugular veins, they threw the headless body of Muslim bin Aqil from the very top of Darul Imara. Allahu Akbar. This is why the Alim says, don't ask me how many bones were broken when they threw Muslim. Not only that, Ibn Ziyad then executed Hani ibn Urwa. Two bodies, the body of Muslim bin Aqil and the body of Hani. Shaykh Muhammad al-Mazandarani says that they took the lifeless body of Muslim, the body without a head, and they tied ropes on the legs of the body of Muslim, and they tied them to the horses. And Ubaydullah ibn Ziyad said, drag the body of Muslim in the city of Kufa. Let the people see anyone who dares to support Hussein. This is what the end result is going to be. My narration mentions it was the day of Eid. The body of Muslim is being dragged by horses in Kufa. Some of the La'in were such that to show their loyalty to Ibn Ziyad, they would kick the body of Muslim bin Aqil. Allah ya Sada. Imam al-Hussein sits this daughter of Muslim bin Aqil, 4-year-old daughter by the name of Hamida. Imam al-Hussein sits her on the lap and he begins to stroke her head with his hands. She says, oh uncle, you are dealing with me in the same way that you deal with the yatims. Allah. How does Imam al-Hussein say to her that your father is shaheed? The narration mentions Imam al-Hussein said to Hamida, from today take me to be your father. Allah. This girl Hamida Mazluma, which is why they say Yawm Arba'in, when the women and the children returned back to Karbala, this one would go to the grave of the father. The daughters of Imam al-Hussein all fell on the grave of their fathers. But there was this one girl, she didn't have a qabr to go to. She looks in Karbala, there is no qabr for her father. They said, who is this girl? They said, this is Hamida, the daughter of Muslim. Abdullah ibn Muslim gets permission from Imam al-Hussein to go into the Maktal. The narration mentions he lights upon his horse, he takes his sword, he bids his mother and his family farewell. From amongst the first people of Bani Hashim to enter into the Maidan, the Maktal mentions that he did 3 separate attacks. He attacked them in a ferocious way, saying that I am the son of Muslim bin Aqil. We are from the family of Bani Hashim, the inheritors of Jannah. I shall strike you with a strike that is the fiercest ones from the youth of Bani Hashim. 3 separate attacks. Every time he went, he would uncover the flank. He disheveled the right flank and he shattered the left flank. 3 times he attacked them. The Maktal says in one of the attacks, he sent 98 of them to Jahannam wa bi'as al-masir. The narration mentions Umar ibn Sa'ad then said, Waylakum, O people, woe be upon you. Do you not know that these are the cubs that were reared in the house of the lions? Surround him from every direction. They surrounded Abdullah ibn Muslim. One of them throws stones at him. The other one was throwing arrows on him. As Abdullah was trying to protect himself from all the arrows, the Maktal says one la'in from a very short distance came and he shot an arrow towards the face of Abdullah. Abdullah was so close to protect his face from the arrow. The Maktal says he covered his face with his hand, but the arrow was shot from so close. The intensity was such. Allah ya Shi'at ala Muhammad, the narration mentions that the arrow went straight through the palm of Abdullah and it got stuck into his forehead. The arrow is pierced the forehead, his hand is stuck, he's not able to move anymore. At this time Alain came and planted a spear into the chest of Abdullah. Allahu Akbar. Abdullah fell down onto the ground covered in his blood. He took his final breath while his hand is pierced to the forehead. Allah. Allah, Shiat Ali Muhammad, this is the final part of the Masa'ib, and forgive me. Do you know what the La'ins did to the body of Abdullah? Al-Juhani Al-La'in says, I am the one who shot the arrow from a short distance. He says, when I saw the boy has died covered in blood, he says, I looked at him. He says, Abdullah ibn Muslim was coughing blood while he was on the sands of Karbala. He says, I was going to turn back. I said, the boy is killed. He says, and then I remembered, this is my arrow that I've used on the boy. Let me remove my arrow. The Maktal says he went back. The arrow which had pierced the palm and had entered the forehead of Abdullah, it was planted so deeply in the skull of Abdullah. Al-Juhani says that I went to recover my arrow. He says, I tried to pull out the arrow. He says, I tried to pull out the arrow, but it was deeply planted. I couldn't. Maktal says, fanadnada, which means that with all his energy, he began to tug on the arrow. He says, when he pulled out the arrow, he tore open the face of Abdullah. Matam Hussein, Matam Muslim.
करबल में लुटाने आए घर दीन पे शबीर जो करबल में लुटाने आए घर दीन पे शबीर जो करबल में کربل میں لٹانے آئے گھر دین پہ شبیر جو کربل میں لٹانے آئے گھر دین پہ شبیر جو کربل میں لٹانے آئے گھر دین پہ شبیر جو کربل میں لٹانے آئے گھر دین پہ شبیر جو کربل میں لٹانے آئے گھر دین پہ شبیر جو کربل میں لٹانے آئے گھر دین پہ شبیر جو کربل میں لٹانے آئے گھر دین پہ شبیر جو کربل میں لٹانے آئے گھر دین پہ شبیر جو کربل میں لٹانے آئے گھر دین پہ شبیر جو کربل میں لٹانے آئے گھر دین پہ شبیر جو کربل میں لٹانے آئے گھر دین پہ شبیر جو کربل میں لٹانے آئے گھر دین پہ شبیر جو کربل میں لٹانے آئے گھر دین پہ شبیر جو کربل میں لٹانے آئے گھر دین پہ شبیر جو کربل میں لٹانے آئے بنت زہرا تیری غربت کے بنت زہرا تیری غربت کے زمانے آئے گھر دین پہ شبیر جو کربل میں لٹانے آئے گھر دین پہ شبیر جو کربل میں لٹانے آئے گھر دین پہ شبیر جو ماشاءاللہ میں لٹانے آئے گھر دین پہ شبیر جو کربل میں لٹانے آئے بنت زہرا تیری غربت کے بنت زہرا تیری غربت کے زمانے آئے گھر دین پہ شبیر جو کربل میں لٹانے آئے گھر دین پہ شبیر جو کربل میں لٹانے آئے گھر دین پہ شبیر جو کربل میں لٹانے آئے گھر دین پہ شبیر جو کربل میں لٹانے آئے وہ جو کہتے تھے محمد سے قرا ہے کافی وہ جو کہتے تھے محمد سے قرا ہے کافی رنگ کربل میں سکیفہ کا رنگ کربل میں سکیفہ کا دکھانے آئے گھر دین پہ شبیر جو کربل میں لٹانے آئے گھر دین پہ شبیر جو کربل میں لٹانے آئے گھر دین پہ شبیر جو کربل میں لٹانے آئے وہ جو کہتے تھے محمد سے قرا ہے کافی وہ جو کہتے تھے محمد سے قرا ہے کافی رنگ کربل میں سکیفہ کا رنگ کربل میں سکیفہ کا دکھانے آئے گھر دین پہ شبیر جو کربل لٹانے آئے دین پہ شبیر جو کربل میں لٹانے آئے دین پہ شبیر جو کربل میں لٹانے آئے بولی زینب کیسے مسلم ہے یہ دیکھو بابا بولی زینب کیسے مسلم ہے یہ دیکھو بابا خون اولاد پیمبر کا خون اولاد پیمبر کا بہانے آئے گھر دین پہ شبیر جو کربل میں لٹانے آئے گھر دین پہ شبیر جو کربل میں لٹانے آئے گھر دین پہ شبیر جو کربل میں لٹانے آئے پانی پینے کے لیے آئے نہ ہرگز اصغر پانی پینے کے لیے آئے نہ ہرگز اصغر میں بھی کربل کا مجاہد ہوں میں بھی کربل کا مجاہد ہوں بتانے آئے گھر دین پہ شبیر جو کربل میں لٹانے آئے گھر دین پہ شبیر جو کربل میں لٹانے آئے گھر دین پہ شبیر جو کربل میں لٹانے آئے شاہ بے کس کا اٹھا یا نہ کسی نے لاشا شاہ بے کس کا اٹھا یا نہ کسی نے لاشا لاش ہر ایک کی شارن میں لاش ہر ایک کی شارن میں اٹھانے آئے گھر دین پہ شبیر جو کربل میں لٹانے آئے گھر دین پہ شبیر جو کربل میں لٹانے آئے گھر دین پہ شبیر جو کربل میں لٹانے آئے آئے زینب کی ردا چھین کے کہتا تھا شمر آئے زینب کی ردا چھین کے کہتا تھا شمر اب کہو غازی سے پردہ وہ اب کہو غازی سے پردہ وہ بچانے آئے گھر دین پہ شبیر جو کربل میں لٹانے آئے گھر دین پہ شبیر جو کربل میں لٹانے آئے گھر دین پہ شبیر جو کربل لٹانے آئے زینب کی ردا چھین کے کہتا تھا شمر آئے زینب کی ردا چھین کے کہتا تھا شمر اب کہو غازی سے پردہ وہ اب کہو غازی سے پردہ وہ بچانے آئے گھر دین پہ شبیر جو کربل میں لٹانے آئے گھر دین پہ شبیر جو کربل میں لٹانے آئے گھر دین پہ شبیر جو کربل میں لٹانے آئے کہتی تھی قید میں بانوں سے سکینہ ہر شب کہتی تھی قید میں بانوں سے سکینہ ہر شب آج بھی بابا نہ سینے پہ آج بھی بابا نہ سینے پہ سلانے آئے پردیس دے لٹیا میرا گھر لوکاں نے نانا وچ پردیس دے لٹیا میرا لوکاں نے نانا وچ پردیس دے لٹیا میرا گھر لوکاں نے نانا وچ پردیس دے لٹیا میرا گھر لوکاں نے نانا وچ پردیس دے لٹیا میرا گھر لوکاں نے نانا وچ پردیس دے لٹیا میرا گھر لوکاں نے نانا وچ پردیس دے لٹیا میرا گھر لوکاں نے نانا وچ پردیس دے لٹیا میرا گھر لوکاں نے نانا وچ پردیس دے لٹیا میرا گھر لوکاں نے نانا وچ پردیس دے لٹیا میرا گھر لوکاں نے نانا وچ پردیس دے لٹیا میرا گھر لوکاں نے نانا وچ پردیس دے لٹیا میرا گھر لوکاں نے نانا وچ پردیس دے لٹیا میرا گھر لوکاں نے نانا وچ پردیس دے لٹیا میرا گھر لوکاں نے مینوں بازار اچ کروا اے سفر لوکاں نے نانا وچ پردیس دے لٹیا میرا گھر لوکاں نے نانا وچ پردیس دے لٹیا میرا گھر لوکاں نے نانا وچ پردیس دے لٹیا میرا گھر لوکاں نے نانا وچ پردیس دے لٹیا میرا گھر لوکاں نے مینوں بازار اچ کروا اے سفر لوکاں نے نانا وچ پردیس دے لٹیا میرا گھر لوکاں نے نانا وچ پردیس دے لٹیا میرا گھر لوکاں نے نانا وچ پردیس دے لٹیا میرا گھر لوکاں نے رہیا پتھراں دیا برساتاں چ خطبے پڑھدی ویر نورو نہ سکی دنیا تو نانا دردی میرے خطبے دلیا کچھ نہ اثر لوکاں نے نانا وچ پردیس دے لٹیا میرا گھر لوکاں نے نانا وچ پردیس دے لٹیا میرا گھر لوکاں نے نانا وچ پردیس دے لٹیا میرا گھر لوکاں نے رہیا پتھراں دیا برساتاں چ خطبے پڑھدی ویر نورو نہ سکی دنیا تو نانا دردی میرے خطبے دلیا کچھ نہ اثر لوکاں نے نانا وچ پر پردیس تے لٹیا میرا گھر لوکاں نے میں محمد دی نواسی ہاں دس دی رہیا واسطہ تیرا بھی میں نانا پوے دی رہیا پھر بھی مار دیتے میرے پتر لوکاں نے نانا وچ پردیس دے لٹیا میرا گھر لوکاں نے نانا وچ پردیس دے لٹیا میرا گھر لوکاں نے نانا وچ پردیس دے لٹیا میرا گھر لوکاں نے میں محمد دی نواسی ہاں دس دی رہیا واسطہ تیرا بھی میں نانا پوے دی رہیا پھر بھی مار دیتے میرے پتر لوکاں نے نانا وچ پردیس دے لٹیا میرا گھر لوکاں نے نانا وچ پردیس دے لٹیا میرا گھر لوکاں نے نانا وچ پردیس دے لٹیا میرا گھر لوکاں نے میں بازار چ کروائے سفر لوکاں نے نانا وچ پردیس دے لٹیا میرا گھر لوکاں نے نانا وچ پردیس دے لٹیا میرا گھر لوکاں نے نانا وچ پردیس دے لٹیا میرا گھر لوکاں نے جیڑی گردن نو تو چمدا رہیا نانا سائیں جو دا حال ہویا بھولنا نہ میں شرطائیں اس گردن تے چلا چھوڑ خجر لوکاں نے نانا وچ پردیس دے لٹیا میرا گھر لوکاں نے نانا وچ پردیس دے لٹیا میرا گھر لوکاں نے نانا وچ پردیس دے لٹیا میرا گھر لوکاں نے حال نیزے تیرے داشم لہائی آکے مینوں بازاراں دے وچ ٹریا رسائیاں پا کے ساتھ مارے میرے اکبر اصغر لوکاں نے نانا وچ پردیس دے لٹیا میرا گھر لوکاں نے نانا وچ پردیس دے لٹیا میرا گھر لوکاں نے نانا وچ پردیس دے لٹیا میرا گھر لوکاں نے جنوں برکے چ کئی سال پلے دی رہیا آپ جاگا اونوں سینے تے سنا دی رہیا چین چھڈیا اودا کربل چ جگر لوکاں نے نانا وچ پردیس دے لٹیا میرا گھر لوکاں نے نانا وچ پردیس دے لٹیا میرا گھر لوکاں یا حسین 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 को कटा के दीन पे, सर को कटा के दीन पे, खुद करबला पे कर दिया तूने हुसैन, या 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 हुसैन। खालिक तेरा ममनून है, खालिक तेरा ममनून है मुर्तज़ा और फातिमा के नूर है। या हुसैन, 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 या हुसैन। मोहम्मद वाले मोहम्मद सलवात। بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. السلام عليك يا رسول الله، السلام عليك يا أمير المؤمنين، السلام عليك يا فاطمة الزهراء سيدة النساء العالمين، السلام عليك يا خديجة الكبرى أم المؤمنين، السلام عليك يا حسن المجتبى، السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله الحسين، وعلى 9 المعصومين من ذريتك، علي بن الحسين ومحمد بن علي وجعفر بن محمد وموسى بن جعفر وعلي بن موسى ومحمد بن علي وعلي بن محمد والحسن بن علي والحجة بن الحسن، عجل الله فرجه وسهل الله مخرجه وظهورك. والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم لوليك الحجة بن الحسن صلواتك عليه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك طوعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين.